Hi, Writing 100 students. I hope you are doing well. I apologize for not having my camera on. My internet is quite slow, so it's better actually for me not to have my camera on. So for this week, I'm going to just start sharing my screen with you directly, so that you'd have something to look at. Okay, so for this week, we are looking at the argumentative essay. Okay, so last week, if you guys remember, we did two things. We looked at what is the writing process. That was just to help you understand how the writing process works. And then after that, we looked at an overview of the argumentative essay. Okay, so now that you have an overview of the argumentative essay, the next step is we're going to break it down to pieces for you so that you understand exactly how you are going to develop your essay in the next couple of weeks. Okay, because your submission deadline is in April, the 23rd of April. So if you just follow along, you should be able to do this. Okay, I have broken it down so easily for you. Okay. So the first step of the argumentative essay that we're going to look at is obviously the parts of an argumentative essay. We're going to look at selecting your topic, and then we're going to look at introduction structure. So the first thing we're going to look at is selecting your topic. It's very important that you start here because once you have a topic, once you have a theme in your head, it's a lot easier to move along in selecting the sources. Okay. So the first thing about selecting a topic is that it needs to be arguable. Arguable mean that there needs to be two sides of this topic. So it mustn't just be a fact. For example, what does it mean by a bad topic? A bad topic is, you know, the sky is blue. That is a fact. No one can argue with the sky is blue. Okay? That is not an argumentative topic. Or something like this. Everybody needs water. Yeah, it's a fact. It's a human life fact. So you cannot really argue against it, or it's difficult to argue against such a thing. So you avoid topics that do not have two sides. And those type of topics are usually facts that you cannot argue with. Okay. So choose a topic that is clearly a lot easier to argue with. For example, online learning is beneficial for university students. Online learning is beneficial for university students. That is a very good topic in terms of arguability because it's got two sides. Some people will agree with you, others will disagree with you. That's number one. It needs to be focused. That means it needs to be narrowed down. I have created a worksheet for you that will help you narrow your topic down. Okay? It cannot be something like education is useful. It's too broad. What education are you talking about? Are you talking about high schools? Are you talking about university? Are you talking about elementary education, basic education? It's too broad. You have to narrow it down. It needs to be interesting so that you can show passion and that you have the zeal, okay, to go out and actually do the research. So it must be a topic that you actually enjoy and that you are passionate about. It shouldn't be just a mundane topic to get by. All right. And the last part, it needs to be researchable. Researchable means I can go online and find the same topic with arguments for and against it. I can tell you 90% of your topics that you will pick has online content for it. Okay. So if you pick a topic that is not researchable, you're going to come to a dead end. You will become frustrated. You won't be able to put your argumentative essay together. Okay. So let's look at topic comparison over here. What is a good topic? What is a bad topic? The first example we have here, social media exists. What is wrong? It's too broad. That's number one because social media is vast. What are you talking about? Okay. And exists? Yeah, it's It's non-arguable, like it's something that is a fact. No one is going to tell you that it doesn't exist because we're all using it, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, X, whatever, it is there. So you cannot argue with that. So that's a bad topic. So how can we improve that topic? Social media harms teen mental health. That's better. Okay. It's still broad though, but it's better. All right. So social media harms teens' health. Now we can see that somebody can argue for and against it, and it's an arguable topic. It's a bit more focused. There is a huge interest around it, and it's completely researchable. You can go online and find multiple examples of this. The next one, climate change is real. Climate change is real. Yeah, that is a fact. No one can argue against it. Okay. People that are trying to argue against it often they come to a dead end because there's not enough research to support their claims. So instead of saying that, you can say cities should ban gas-powered cars by 2013. That's a better topic because not only do you have it narrowed down, because climate change is too broad. Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about deforestation? Are you talking about us having to switch to solar power? What are you talking about? But in this next topic here, we have it. Cities should ban gas-powered cars by 2035. That is very specific. You're giving a date and you're telling people what about climate change you're talking about. Gas, petroleum is the problem. And so cities, they should ban them. That is an arguable topic. Somebody else might have a different opinion to you. The next bad topic is school is important. That is too broad. Like I said to you, education is important. Okay, what are you talking about? It's too broad. Which school? Schools in Iraq, schools in America. And when you talk about schools, you're talking about elementary, middle, primary, or secondary. It's way too broad. But if you say something like high school should start at 9 a.m., that is a lot more specific. Now you have narrowed it down. You're specifically focusing on high schools. Okay, so we now know the particular population and you are giving an actual deadline. You're saying should start at 9 a.m. Some people will argue against that. They'll say, no, that is way too late. Schools need to start at 7:30, like, for example, countries in China that start classes earlier, or in America, for example. Or maybe you have schools that start in the afternoon that could argue and say, no, that is way too early. So always remember this. Your topic, it should be arguable. It should be focused. It needs to be interesting. So it needs to stimulate interest and it needs to be researchable. Okay. So that's the next one. So, for example, could a reasonable person disagree with my claim? If it's yes, it's a good topic, move forward. If it's no, it's a fact, it's not arguable, you need to go back and revise it. Perhaps sometimes you need to only narrow it down, okay? All right, so those are the first things that I need you to focus on is on selecting a topic. Now I'm going to stop sharing this PowerPoint slide and I'm going to share with you the Google form that goes with it. Now, I promised you guys, and I said we will do this step by step with one another. And one of those things is to actually, let me have a look, is to share it with you. I don't know if it's on here. Yep, you should be able to see this. One second. A Google form that should help you to fill this out in a way to guide you in selecting an appropriate topic. Okay. I'm just trying to get this going. Okay, there you go. So, for example, the first thing that I'm asking you, and this is going to help, and it's just a way to help stimulate and to help you narrow it down because I know sometimes you can get stressed out and you pick something that is either too broad or you don't have a lot of information. So when you watch that PowerPoint, the first thing you do is you click on this Google form, okay? And it says there, step one. The argumentative essay will go through multiple steps and we're doing it together. So step one, you have to complete this. Start with a theme. Choose a theme. As you can see, these are all broad themes: education, technology, medicine, history, media, social media. Those are very, very broad themes. Pick one. What interests you? What stimulates you? Okay. What do you actually have very good background knowledge in? You click on one, just one. All right. Now, the next part, now decide one specific aspect of the theme. Write it down. For example, let's say I choose something like language. I'm going to say language. All right. And I want to narrow it down. So language is too broad because there's so many languages in the world. I need to pick something that is a little bit easier. Okay. So I can pick English, for example. Okay. I think it would be better if I actually um, I cannot type in this thing, but let's say I will type in here so that it's easier. So for example, I'll say English, okay? English should not be a global language. Okay, because right now English is the hegemon. It is a global language. It is practiced everywhere. It's the language of politics, commerce, okay, exchange. So maybe that's the topic. English should not be a global language. Is it arguable? Yes, it is. Okay. So, because some people will be for and against it. So now determine whether you are for or against it. You click for or against. So, do you agree or you disagree? All right. Now, narrow it down even further. All right. So, remember, mine was English should not be a global language. It's still a bit too broad. For example, I've given you guys an example over here. A bad example, schools are important. That is way too broad. A good example would be attending secondary school should be made mandatory for all adolescents in Iraq. Now, my topic was about English. For that, I can say English should not be made mandatory to study in, for example, middle in countries that have their own official language, such as Iraq, something like that. Okay. That's a very, um, I'm trying to bring it home. I'm trying to keep it in the context. So English should not be made mandatory in countries that have their own language. So, for example, in Iraq, you guys have your own official languages, such as Arabic and Kurdish, all right? And many other languages. Why should English be made mandatory? All right, so that could be, for example, your topic, all right? Now, develop a comprehensive thesis statement. Remember, these thesis needs to have two main topics, sorry, needs to have a main topic and a controlling idea with two predictors. So what does it mean? Basically, you take this topic again, you copy it down, but now make sure that it is very narrowed down specifically to what you want, all right, with two reasons. What are the two main points you're going to discuss in your paragraph? For example, I'm going to copy and paste this over. Okay, copy. All right, I'm going to put this over here as an example. All right. So English should not be made mandatory to study in countries that have their own official language, such as Iraq, because of what? All right. Because it interferes with the mother tongue language development. That's reason one. And it removes cultural appreciation. All right. So here I'm talking about two different things. I'm going to talk about that it interferes with the mother tongue development. So, for example, if somebody is Kurdish, it's better for them to study their entire career in their own mother tongue language, especially when the kids are very young. All right. Or Arabic. Okay. If you're in China, it would be Mandarin, for example. All right. And it removes cultural appreciation. Some language doesn't just come in with language, it comes in with culture. For example, if you look at even our restaurants that we have nowadays, it has food from other cultures. Now people are moving away from their own cultural foods and appreciating something else. So it's removing cultural appreciation. It is disconnecting people to appreciate their own culture. Okay. So those are the two things that I will talk about. Once you have that done, read it again, check for spelling errors, and then you press submit. In that way, you have started developing your argumentative. And this is a very good way to keep you on track so that you don't go back and forth, you don't stress out, and you start to look at resources. Okay. So, this is what I want you to really focus on. The next lecture I'm going to focus on is revisiting the CRAP test, okay? Because that will require you to select two sources that supports your argument. Um, all of this information is available in your Moodle classroom. Please look at week 7, Introduction to Argumentative Essay. It has everything in there for you, and you should be able to follow just fine. All right. I'm going to try and have a live session with you guys for some students that want to do this exercise together. Take care.